For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. I'm Jeff Belanger, and I'm a Leo, and I look good. Thank you for you astrology fans. I am a Leo, proud of it. We're talking about astrology. Is your future, is your fate held in the stars? Can we learn something about ourselves from astrological signs? We'll be talking about all of that tonight. But first, want to remind you, if you're watching the show live at our website, 30oddminutes.com, jump in the chat room because Sarah and Rob are ready. They're waiting. There they are, ready to rock and roll. Pass your questions up to me, up to our guest, because we're going to be talking about really great things this week. Thank you for all the emails we've been getting. We've got a few this week. And please, the lovely and talented Sarah Samways is going to tell us about them. Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. Sarah.
Maybe.
There we go.
All right. So first up, we have one from Russia. It says, "Well done, guys, for the great show you make. We're internationally loved now."
Sarah, microphone.
Is it on?
Yeah, you're doing great. Hold it still. Her debut.
Okay.
Yay!
Great. Thank you.
It's the new technology.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So next up, another international email. It says, "Hi from Estonia. I'm just watching this live from Lizzie Borden's, and I'm quite sure I hear a voice or some kind of awe in the background during minute 20, right after Jeff enters the bedroom. Hope it helps. Love the show and good luck." Well, Alar from Estonia, we actually did take a look at that footage, and here's what we found. Maybe.
Do I look fat in these jeans? I mean, you really... This has got to not be flattering. Oh, you good? All right, we're coming in. Hey! What are you guys experiencing? Come on in. Do I look fat in these jeans? I mean, you really... This has got to not be flattering. Oh, you good?
In Estonia, you would be considered a wide load.
All right, we're coming in. Hey! What are you guys experiencing? Come on in.
Nicely done. Back to Sarah. Camera 2. It's not so easy, is it?
So, yeah, I guess your concepts are big in Estonia. You're big in Estonia. You just didn't know which part was big, right?
That's
now we
right.
do.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Well done. Well done. Well done, Sarah. It's not so easy, is it?
Piece of cake.
Stuff goes wrong. You guys are great. We get through it all the time. All right. Astrology is such a great subject because I think, like most people, I've known about it my whole life because I've opened a newspaper. I've read my horoscope. Well, it's so much bigger than that. Think about the earliest humans living on the planet, looking up at the stars. They noticed some of these stars formed patterns. The patterns are called constellations today. But they also noticed that some of the stars seem to wander between those constellations. Well, now we know those are planets. And that told time. It was a calendar on a very big scale. So can we learn something from that? Can we line up events from present day based on past experiences? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and we've got such a great guest to do it. Christopher Renstrom is the creator of RulingPlanets.com, the web's first interactive subscription-based astrology magazine that provides daily horoscopes, an astrology Q&A, and a historical library that reproduces American astrological periodicals from the 19th and early 20th century. He's been a practicing astrologer since 1985. It's a lot of experience, more than any of us have here at anything, really. He created a horoscope column for Allure magazine. I've read it. He conceived and developed a column called Ask the Astrologer for LifetimeTV.com and Catalyst magazine. He also writes the daily horoscope for the San Francisco Chronicle. He took over for Gene Dixon. How cool is that? Huh? Isn't that cool? God, how do we get people this good? He's the author of Ruling Planets, your astrological guide to life's ups and downs. His horoscopes are read by millions of people each day. You've heard him on radio stations across the country. You've seen him on MSNBC, and tonight he's all yours live from Salt Lake City, Utah. Please put your hands together for Christopher Renstrom.
Hello.
Oh, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
You sound really important. Thank you for coming and doing this. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for having me on your show. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
Well, Chris, I hate to start with the question you always get asked, but what's your sign?
My sign is Capricorn.
Ah. Now,
yeah.
Does that work in bars anymore? I've been kind of out of that game a while.
Well, actually, the interchange between people has gotten a little bit more complicated over the years. It used to be, what's your sign, and you would just answer the sign. But now, you sit through the moon, the ascendant, what's going on between Venus and Saturn. I mean, people will recite their entire horoscopes.
In your single days, it must have been brutal if someone ever laid that on you, because you'd be like, well, what time were you born? What's the second where? I mean, it would get complicated.
Actually, it was the opposite. It was more like, oh, you're an astrologer, and then they would park themselves on a stool and ask me a million questions about themselves, and that's all you did for the rest of the evening was answer questions about what was going on in their life.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, let's start with the basics. I alluded to it a little bit earlier. What is astrology?
Astrology is not a science, and astrology is not a religion. What astrology is, as you referred to before, is a calendar. That's why every major civilization on the planet, whether it's Chinese, Indian, Mesoamerican, Middle Eastern, European, developed some form of astrology. It was in order to tell time.
Right. No, please, continue.
Sure. The only thing that you have to understand about astrology is very simple, is that everything is seen from the Earth's point of view. Okay? It doesn't matter if the Earth orbits the Sun or the Sun orbits the Earth or whatever those notions were. Everything is seen from the Earth's point of view. When you remember that we still tell time from the rising and setting of the Sun, the motion of the Sun moving across the sky, then you realize that, okay, if we're watching the Sun rise and set, we're also watching the Moon rise and set, and then the planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, etc., rise and set across the sky. And that's basically how we created our year, divided our year up into the 4 seasons, and basically came up with what defined a year, a month, a week, a day. It told time. It allowed us to tell time according to the movement of the planets across the night sky.
Right. Okay, now, I had an argument not too long ago with someone about astrology who said, it's all bunk, it's all garbage. One of the points I made on the most basic level is that, if nothing else, I was born in the summer. I'm a Leo. I stated it proudly up front. I was born in the summer, and growing up, there was often not a lot of kids around for my birthday party because they were summer vacation and they were vacationing. You jerks. Where were you? I needed friends for a birthday party. Has that forced me to be more outgoing? Has that affected the rest of my life?
That was a good way that you resolved that challenging situation.
Thank you.
Basically, what it is, it's a very complex system that you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you begin explaining it to someone who doesn't really believe it, then you can watch the eyes glaze over, and they're, getting ready with their scientific facts, and they usually have too many pens and pencils in their shirt pocket, and they're going to, shoot it down with this and that or whatever. And that's one kind of tedious conversation. And then there's another type, which is someone like, oh my goodness, of course, I've always believed in astrology, and they interrupt you about maybe 3 words into it, and they're throwing all these sorts of things or whatever. Astrology is a language. I mean, whether you're going to believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's not here to be believed. It's here to provide a service. And the service is to tell you the time. Astrology works like a weather report or a traffic report. We look at what's going on in the stars. You have a question about maybe job, relationship, health, what to eat that day or whatever. That's usually not a question, but you have a question.
Right.
And basically, we look up in the stars and we do our best job to answer that question. Now, if you think of driving to work, in the morning, who gets to work faster? The person who turns on the traffic report and listens and finds out that a certain road is blocked, or the person who gets behind the wheel and just sort of drives to work? The person with the traffic report has more information. They have more guidance. That's what astrology does. It provides information. It provides guidance. It works in your life or it doesn't work in your life. If it works in your life, it's great. It's a tool. It's a resource. If it doesn't work in your life, turn to the sports page and knock yourself out.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so but my point is that all of us have a different starting point. All of us have a birthday. And I guess what factor is at play? What's the difference between someone born in January and someone born in August? Like that starting point, is that going to affect the rest of your life?
Yes, it does. Basically, and it's a wonderful way of putting it, Jeff, which is the starting point.
Right.
Your birthday is when you got onto the wheel of life, essentially, is the way to look at it. And when you got onto the wheel of life, or you were dealt into the game, there were certain factors that were at work at that time that you were born. We describe these factors to you through something called a horoscope, which is an astrological chart, which is a map of the heavens at the time that you were born. That gives us a sort of snapshot, a blueprint of your entire life. But the planets, where they were at the time of your birth, aren't static. They have moved and continue moving through the sky. It's a sort of thinking of it as real-time calendar. It's in constant movement. And so we will read trends and things like that, what's going for you, what's going against you, based on that planetary configuration's relationship to your own personal horoscope. So someone born in the summer is going to have a seasonal temperament, which is very different from someone born in the winter. I mean, psychologists are discovering it these days with what I think they call it seasonal depression or something along those lines.
It's sad, yeah, sure.
Where people actually go through dips in energy 6 months away from their birthday. In astrology, everything is seen in terms of like the seasons. You're in season. You're at your most vital point at your birthday. Energy-wise, you're at your lowest point 6 months away from your birthday. So, for instance, someone born in the summer like yourself, a Leo, is going to feel very vitalized in the summer. But during the winter time, when the sun is furthest away, when its energy is weakest, when nights are longest and days are shortest, that's when you're going to be feeling, the lowest. Well, that's going to be true for you because you're summer, but someone born in the winter could be very well opposite. They feel peak in winter and enervated in the summer.
Right. Well, okay, the good news is we're going to show you one of these astrological blueprints a little bit later in the show. It's kind of a surprise. Christopher was kind enough to do a chart for one of the oddballs here, and they don't know which one. Isn't that funny? They all sent in their birthdays and time of births, and one of them is going to be the lucky winner. We will get to that in a little bit. But first, want to take a quick break. We ask you for field reports from all over the world, and people were kind enough to send them in. Here's the rules. You got 30 seconds to tell us about something weird where you live, and this is what came in this week. Let's roll it.
30 odd seconds.
30 odd seconds.
Jeff, this is Jack Talbert with 30 odd seconds from Pottawatomie County, Kansas. Since the year 2000, there have been several eyewitness reports of sighting a small primate like a little furry man that they refer to as the grass man of Kansas, and it builds nests in a thicket, much like the one that's behind me now. In the little nests that it leaves behind, there's usually a very strong, pungent smell, something between the smell of a cat's litter box and extremely bad body.
Jack, sorry, we said 30 seconds, and that was 30 seconds on the nose. He may have had more to say, but we'll never know. It's a pretty tough break, isn't it? The rules are the rules. Sorry, folks. That's how it goes. Thank you, Jack, for sending us a field report. If you want to send one, send it to info@30oddminutes.com. Check out our website, and you can find all the rules. 30 seconds. We mean it. Okay, actually, we do have a question in the chat room. I'm getting flagged down over here. Yes. Rob, do tell.
Yes, Jeff. We have a question from Mark, and he wants to know how much you know about the Chinese calendar and how it relates to the Western astrology, horoscopes as we know it, and which is more accurate, in your opinion?
Oh, okay. Good question. Did you get that, Christopher?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. We work with a solar-based calendar, okay? And that's a result of a dinner party that Julius Caesar had on Cleopatra's barge, in which he was trying to figure out how to tax the Roman citizens more effectively. And the Egyptians said, well, why don't you come up with the solar calendar? We do it according to this, that, etc. It's a whole long story. But anyway, that's when he switched us over to the Julian calendar, which is sun or solar based. The Chinese and Indian calendars, which are actually more true to the roots of astrology, coming out of Baghdad or Mesopotamian culture, is lunar based. Okay, so they deal with the 13-month interpolations, if I use that word right, whereas we deal with the fixed, it was an attempt, whereas we deal with the fixed 12-month calendar. Essentially, there is no one overriding astrology because we do not live by one overriding calendar. You live with the calendar that your culture times its activities by. So someone in the Asian countries would obviously be working with a lunar-based calendar, lunar-based astrology, whereas here in the West, it's probably much more effective and efficient for you to be working with a solar-based calendar. It's not saying that you can't use it, but again, astrology's purpose is to be a calendar and to time things, and you're going to get much more effective timing if you're living in the West, working and living with a solar-based astrology.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, let's talk about general worldview. When the stars tell us that it's probably going to be a generally bad time or good time for various things, be it health or pestilence or war. And
right.
When we spoke earlier today, you had talked about we're coming into a pretty rough period, right?
Yeah, actually, yes, we are.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mars, right? Mars is going to be the ruling planet right now, or?
Well, yes, what we were referring to earlier, although the period that you may also be alluding to is over the summer, but what we were referring to earlier is that we're used to looking at our daily horoscopes in terms of you look up your sign, which has your birthday, and you read your forecast for that day. So we're in right now the sign of Pisces, and we're moving into the sign of Aries.
Okay.
Well, in astrology, every sign is ruled by a planet. So it's not the sign that is important, it's the ruling planet. Okay, so we're moving from a Neptunian time into a Mars times, where Mars will be in its season. And that will start on March 20th, and it lasts to April 20th. And every March 20th to April 20th, give or take a day, Mars is in its season. It's at its peak. It's at its most powerful, like what we were describing and talking about before.
Right.
And what I wanted to relate to you, if that's all right,
please,
just
yeah.
to sort of demonstrate, yeah?
Yeah, please do.
Is that Mars, for instance, is a planet that we associate with war, and we associate with violence, and with firearms, and with catastrophe. Mars, by the way, also has some positive aspects as well. People who are born under Mars, you often see them involved in emergency services, like firemen and policemen, also athletics. But Mars in general is pretty much known as causing crisis and by causing conflict. What I wanted to share with you, just to sort of demonstrate how astrology works, it doesn't tell you what to do or what happens, it tells you when it's going to happen, or when is the most likelihood of the happening. So if you think of those dates, and I just want your audience to keep in mind, March 20th to April 20th, just March 20, right. April 20, I would like to read to you a list of events that have a very powerful Mars theme. To begin with, April 19th, 1775, was when the shot was heard round the world. That's the Battle of Lexington and Concord.
Right.
April 12th, 1861, the Confederates fire on Fort Sumter. April 14th, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln is assassinated. On April 15th, 1912, the Titanic sinks. April 2nd, 1917, America declares war on Germany, and that's the start of the Americans' entrance into World War I.
Right.
April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. April 19th, 1993, 80 Branch Davidians die in Waco, Texas. April 19th, 1995, is the date of the Oklahoma City bombing. And finally, April 16th, 2007, is the Virginia Tech massacre. Now, if you contemplate the themes of Mars, and admittedly, these are sensational examples that I brought up.
And depressing.
But I brought them...
And depressing examples. Thank you very much.
And a bit depressing. I brought them up to really show that it's not saying that, this was fated to happen. It's saying that when the energy is in its season, when we are living in the Mars season, which is between March 20 and April 20, then Mars events, Mars-themed events, are most likely to happen. And that's just a sort of demonstration of how astrology can be used, whether to, to prepare or to maximize the opportunities that are available.
So that's at a big world scale. Let's talk about, when we read our daily horoscopes, a lot of times the themes are today's a good day for business transactions or love matters or whatever. How do you decide for that sign that day? I mean, that specific day.
Let's add the added challenge of having to do it in 25 words or less.
Yeah, right.
So I'm very sympathetic to your 30-second spot for that video camera. Basically, what astrologers like myself do when we're doing horoscopes on that general basis, and remember, we're writing this for millions of people.
Sure.
What we're attempting to do is isolate themes that are traveling through the horoscopes of those people. And so it's basically like going all the way back to a very wide-angle lens. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at certain planetary themes. Like, for instance, the big planetary theme that's been going on for Leos right now, and which Barack Obama has been facing, himself being a Leo, is the Mars having turned retrograde in Leo at the end of December. Retrograde is a regressive movement. When Mars, which is a planet which is connected with energy and vitality, is retrograde in a sign like Leo, which is supposed to be fiery and expressive, there can be challenges and difficulties with adversaries, usually male adversaries, in which the person is being challenged with very difficult circumstances. What we've seen, for instance, since that period of time is Barack Obama, in essence, has been traveling against the current, has been traveling upstream, has not been able to radiate the energy, which is so connected with his Leo sign. He's so recognized as being, vital and centered and whatever. Well, we've just gone through the winter months where he has been out of season, and that has worked in conjunction with Mars being backwards in his sign, and so it's been very much an uphill climb for him since December of last year. This changes tomorrow, very timely, the interview, when Mars comes out of retrograde in Leo and starts moving forward again. So this will be very good for Leos, and it will also be very positive for Aries and for Scorpio.
Well, good. I could kind of use some good news, actually. There's been a lot of rejection lately in my professional life, so thank you. That's good. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow it starts to turn around, but let's see what April does for you. That should be really quite good.
All right, well, here's hoping. Okay, we're going to take a quick break for a very odd fact.
And now, an odd fact with Matthew Moniz.
The world's termites outweigh humans 10 to 1. Isn't that all?
Thank you, Matt. Always odd, always strange. All right, we do have another question in the chat room. Sarah.
Yes, we do. We have a question from Liz, and she would like to know what you think about the lunar cycle and how that might affect people. For her, she can't sleep during the full moon, and she's wondering why that might be.
Well, that would be a much more personalized answer. I would have to look at your horoscope and see what phase the moon was in, and how powerful an influence the moon is in your life. But yes, the moon cycle is a very powerful one. If you think of the planets as hands moving on the face of a clock, there are certain planets that take a very long time to move through one sign. The sun, for instance, will take 12 months to go through all 12 signs. The moon will take 1 month to go through all 12 signs. So you have to sort of think of the moon as a second or a hypersecond sign on the astrological on the astrological clock. So those lunar cycles are very, very powerful, but it's the sort of thing where I'd really have to sort of see the horoscope to see exactly what was up. But it sounds like she might have been born during a full moon.
Ha! All right, well, actually, I think that's a perfect time. Let's take a look at a specific example of what a star sign looks like, and this is one of our oddballs. Andy, if you could bring that up. I chose Sarah. Yay, Sarah! All right, Sarah, could you please tell us your exact date, time, and location of birth, please?
Yes, I was born May 17th, 78, Idaho Falls, Idaho, at 6:27 a.m.
All right, now your social security number and mother's maiden name. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so Christopher, what did you create there in that graphic? What are we looking at?
What you're looking at is a horoscope chart. It's Sarah's horoscope chart, and what you'll see on the far left, if that graphic is, or for anyone who memorized it.
There it is, there it is.
You will see the symbol of the sun, which is a circle with the dot right in the center of it, and it is rising over the horizon. The horizon is that cross beam that goes right across the circle right there. It's juxtaposed, or it works in angle with the other line, which is vertical, which is going up and down. This is, in essence, the astrological clock that I'm referring to. So what we have here is that the sun is rising in Sarah's chart, and that indicates that she was born at sunrise, 6:27 a.m., and we use that to read the rest of the horoscope.
Okay, and so what can you tell us about Sarah, please?
In my 30-second spot.
Yeah.
What I can tell you about Sarah is that she's coming out of what has been a bit of a challenging or transitional period for her. She's had a few rough spots, which have also been rather invigorating in the past, since 2005. 2005 to 2007 is one area of one period of time that's of particular interest to me as an astrologer because of what's going on in the astrological chart. And also what's of interest is from September of 2009 to it's April, I believe it's April 26th of this year. Which also marks another transitional time for her. I should imagine, or I would imagine, that there will be a change of life circumstance. This could perhaps be a change of residence or of job or profession that will take place between the months of June and late August of this up-and-coming year. And this should actually be a very vital, very powerful time for her, in which she may feel like she's really back on solid ground for the first time in what has been, looks to me like a prolonged period of time for her.
All right, for the record, I told Christopher absolutely nothing about Sarah other than the information you heard, her date of birth, location, time, and everything else. I didn't make one comment, did I, Christopher?
No, and this is the scary part for the astrologer. No, you didn't.
No, he's good. Because I mean, we've talked. Sarah, please, what do you think?
No, you're right on, actually. Kind of uncanny, really, especially about a new residence. That's definitely up and coming. And summer is about the time it's coming, as well as a change in my career. In 2005, I did a complete different career change, life change. I moved across the country, and it's been in flux ever since then. So yeah, I had no idea you were going to tell me any of this either. So it's cool.
Yeah. Huh? Very well done, sir. Very well done.
See, not so scary.
Yeah. No, well done. Well done.
I want mine done next.
Yeah, all right.
No,
it was good. Christopher, thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. And it's funny to hear you say it, because I said nothing. I didn't say a word, just Sarah and your name. So isn't that amazing how we can pick up on these things? That now, one question I did have is, I mean, do you consider this any bit of a psychic ability in addition to astrology, or do you hold it separate?
The technical answer is no.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be psychic.
Okay.
You're dealing with a 360-degree circle, and it's the way that you divide it and the placement of the planets on it. That is the technical answer. But I think, like with any sort of art form, other aspects of one's personality, talents, and abilities come into it, and certainly if they can augment and improve and help make a reading better, that's really quite good. But with astrology, as I also teach with my students, is that you always have to, the challenge is to always locate what you're going to say in the chart and find the backup for whatever your statements, forecasts, or predictions are going to be.
It's really incredible. And like you said, I mean, some people just get a kick out of daily horoscopes. It's just kind of a fun thing to go through. Others, you can get a lot more in depth than the horoscope, I think, is the point. It's not just, reading 25 words or less for your day, or maybe a little bit more in the case of the magazines.
It's a beautiful tradition, and we would not have astronomy without it. All of those planetary movements were calculated and worked out for centuries beforehand. And that's, in essence, what astronomers will always owe to astrology, a profound debt of gratitude.
Thank you, Christopher Renstrom. We are out of time. Until next time, stay odd. Yeah. They just roll those credits on us, man. That's how you know it's near the end.